Hey guys, what's going on? My name is Elbow Fever. I'm a former Tier 2 coach becoming a content creator, making a lot of Overwatch educational content, and today we are going to be talking about King's Row first points. We're going to look at both the attacking side and the defending side, go over a bunch of different ideas, rotations, and how to take advantage of this map so you either never get full hold ever again, or you always full hold the enemy team. So let's start with a map layout overview. So King's Row First is a pretty interesting map design because Overwatch tends to follow two different map philosophies, that being the 3-lane model, where we have 3 lanes, the mid lane where most of the fighting will happen. A lot of times Cart will be pushing down this area. We also have the left side and the right side, which gives a lot of opportunities for flanks, it gives for off angles, and can be really powerful for a lot of different players. Now, unlike second points and even third points of King's Row that follow this 3-lane setup, King's Row First follows a 4-corner map design, where there's 4 major corners, or not necessarily corners, but sort of physicalities of the map that are extremely important. So looking at this map, these 4 corners are going to be statue, hotel corner, this high ground, and this area right here that can encompass this, and this. So these 4 corners are really crucial to the map. The whole idea with the 4 corners model of maps is you need to control 2 corners to be even with the enemy team, and you need to control 3 to be dominating. So what tends to happen is, here, let me label the corners right here, 1, 2, 3, and 4. What tends to happen is I see a lot of games coming down to who can sort of take this second corner. Standard, the attacking team is sort of given this first corner, right? It's not a big threat for the defending team to give up a single corner. Having to control all 4 at the same time can often spread your forces a little bit thin, right? And it can actually make it really dangerous as the team without any corners can play really flexible and make some super wacky plays, right? The defending team will often be very set up in the second corner, and what I tend to see a lot is a game where we just fight for this corner over and over again. You go to the first corner, you go to statue, and then you run yourself to the second corner, you try to push the enemies off, and then you cap the points, which is fine, but it's a little bit shallow. There's a lot more to this map that can be explored. So what about this second and third corner over here, right? What makes them so special? These are the off angles, right? Off angles are extremely important. The whole idea of an off angle is if the attacking team can capture, say, corner 1, which again is sort of given to them, and corner 3, they have angles onto corner 2 that look like this. Wow, that's a horrible line. Let me try that again. The reason this is so dangerous for the defending team is this angle right here. This angle can become extremely deadly as something like a Reinhardt is being pressured from multiple different directions. So it becomes very difficult for them to hold shield and block from both sides. And if he does block from both sides, say instead of putting the shield here where he's obviously being shot from this side, that's a little bit, dumb. Say he has a shield up like this, well then he's starting to create weaknesses in his play, right? So if he puts a shield up like this, then there's options for angles like this. It makes it extremely difficult for the Reinhardt to push forward, because the further the Rein pushes, say he pushes up to here, the stronger this off angle becomes. And now we have which once was like a 30-degree angle. The farther that Rein pushes up, it's going to be closer to like a 90-degree angle, to a point where if he pushes too far, then the Rein could be literally be shot in the back, right? And when we look at not the third corner, but instead the fourth corner over here, like this pressure is huge. This is so many things to pay attention to. It's going to be virtually impossible for the Rhine to take space, as the farther he does push in one direction, either towards 1 or 4, it is exposing themselves to the other angle. So pushes towards 4 to try to push them out, well then this angle here becomes even stronger, and vice versa, kind of like we just talked about in angle 2. Right? So taking these off angles right here on this high ground here and right here, which again encompasses this little area right here, this high ground up here, and the high ground over here, can be really powerful for the attacking team, right? But it can also be powerful for the defending team as well, obviously. So let's look at this from the defending side first. Let's delete all the X's and let's jump down. So the defender's team generally wants to hold in 2 positions. They can hold here or they can hold here. And this is under the assumption they are playing a rush composition that's very brawly. It probably has a Rhine, maybe a Zarya, but we've seen rush compositions played with double shield before, so it's all up in the air. This position is 100% the strongest. It's sort of kind of, to use chess terms, and that's what I'm going to be doing today, it's sort of the main line for the defensive position. This right here is an alternative. It's not necessarily bad, but it's just slightly worse and a little bit more passive. There are trade-offs to both positions. This position is very strong because it actually allows the team to, it gives the attacking team this corner like usual, but it tries to hold in this position and keep them stuck in this corner. This allows the defending team to use this corner to their advantage and this corner to their advantage. So a lot of times defending teams in this position will be playing the same off angle idea that we were talking about on the attack. So this position is very powerful, but even if no one is up here, you don't have a Sigma, you don't have a Hanzo, you don't have someone who wants to play in this position, this corner right here playing on statue and on defense can be really, really strong because it doesn't allow anyone to make this cross and get to this high ground, or just this car, tree, and corner right here in general, because you are fighting for this space, where if you were back here, right here, this path would be relatively open and they can start pretty easily taking off angles on you. Smarter DPS players will abuse this pretty heavily if you were to allow them to. So at the higher level of play, this is absolutely the stronger position. But what are the downsides of this position? Well, the downsides are there's a pretty easy flank route over here for a backstab onto a Rhine playing in this position. Of course, this flank route comes with a lot of risk as well, because it's very easy to get shut down from this corner or from this high ground. But again, it's a possibility. This choke right here from this corner to this corner is pretty weak in general. It's very large, and something like a Mei wall, it doesn't really perfectly fit this style right here. A lot of times you'll have a crack in this position and the Mei has to swing out pretty wide to land the perfect Mei wall, whereas here they won't land the Mei wall correctly and they'll have a spot either on this corner or this corner where the Reinhardt can walk out. And even if there's just a crack and the Rhine can't walk out, things like Zarya projected bubble can slip through and protect the Rhine, where if the wall was better, the Rhine would have died. So, a little bit of disadvantage in this position, and the really big disadvantage in this position is the retreat. From here all the way back to here. This is a very, very far distance, and imagine yourself as a Reinhardt trying to slowly walk backwards like this with your shield up. Right? That's way too much time to get to a safe position. Most likely your shield's going to break. You're going to take too much damage, and you're going to have to give up a lot of space and time as you regen those abilities and get healed up. So falling back and losing in this position is very, very, very dangerous. But people with higher game sense will be able to recognize, oh, they have this ultimate and this ultimate. The second I see this, we are going to move back, and higher level Lucios will be able to, kite them in the right direction. So this position is stronger the more game sense you have. But if you are lacking on game sense, then this position can get a little dangerous if you overextend, if you're not really taking advantage of this high ground or anything, and if they sort of push on you too strong and you try to fight back, you're going to end up in a lot of trouble. So that's sort of the pros and cons of this position. Let's talk about this position. We're going to be much faster about this one. The big con is it allows them to take this corner pretty much for free. The advantage is it's much safer. It's much more defensive. It's really difficult to be run out of this corner. By the time they go from over here to over here, they're probably going to have less resources than your team because they need to heal, they need to speed boost, they need to put in bubbles and such just to make this rotation, right? Just to make this push. Where this position you kind of allow them to burn a bunch of resources to get here, then you take fight at advantage, right? So I've actually seen a couple of times defending teams play at this choke point right here. And you might be thinking, well, why don't you play this choke point here? Isn't it really powerful? I mean, it's really easy for a Mei wall to land because they can just hide like this and land perfect Mei walls every time. You can like hide around here and be all sneaky and such. Well, the problem with this choke is pretty much the same as this position right here, but to a larger extent. This walk back is so difficult to make back to here or back to here, right? Even here, it's like even longer than back to here. Once you lose this choke, this walk almost guaranteed to get you kill because you have to walk through this tight ass little corridor. You have to retreat a very far away, right? And in a sense, distance equals time, where the further distance these choke points are away, the longer it's going to take for you to either push forwards or retreat backwards. So yeah, this is a very hard position to retreat from, and this choke is very easily broken. You might actually be surprised, but better players will take this position right here and look for some aggressive plays. We'll also see positions like this and like this being played a lot, and you could literally just walk out here and then come down to here, right? As a team. But also, sometimes, this just goes for any map. If you are being held in a choke, use an ult. That is generally the sort of trade-off between, between these two. You gotta pay the token, you gotta pay the toll to get through, and that token just happens to be an ultimate. So throw a Diva Bomb, throw a Coalescence in, a Nano Boost, anything just to get through this choke point. Window is also a really great option as well. So we can push up like this, or more likely like this. But if they're holding out, actually, never mind. If they're holding this position, push them like this. Just keep pushing them. Like, you break this choke, they have to fall back, and the Rhine dies before he can get to a safe corner. I mean, it's a very dubious place to hold. Again, using chess terms. So these are generally the places you are going to set up on defense if you're playing a rush composition. Talking about attack, there are 4 major rotations to make on rush compositions. This way is sort of like the main line where you're going to make it to this corner, right? This corner is given to you for free, so take it. And then we'll be playing for corner 3, corner 4 maybe, but mostly corner 2, right? The other options is to come down this way, right? You start in this corner, you push down this way. But we talked about this this alternative before. It's a little bit dubious. This choke is hard to break through, but it is viable. It can be very potent. It's just difficult. This is difficult, very manageable though, especially with a lot of speed and a lot of power behind this push. Now, the big 2 alternatives though, the big 2 sidelines are going to be through Hotel and up this way towards this little back elevated area. I don't know what to call that. What do you call that area? I don't know. So let's go through Hotel first. Why would you ever go through Hotel? Hotel has a lot of disadvantages. In this little room, if you get stuck in this little room, there's like no cover. this position right here while protecting from probably the Reinhardt or tanks or something playing on this corner. It just leaves you wide open towards the arches. If you try to play like on the mini, it's very easy to get shot from the corner again that the tanks are probably going to play on. There's a lot of threats that people might come through this door and land some damage, and there's a pretty large looming threat that somebody will make a rotation like this and look for an attack straight up just behind you. So Hotel is really difficult to make a push through. Why would you do it? Well, actually, it's to the major reason, the major like trap of this position is a support playing this archway. So a lot of times you see supports playing in this archway, maybe even a little bit further back to play the corners. They're very safe. They have this little room to fully retreat to if they're getting pushed hard with a mini. They have just so many options. It's a really great place to play as a support, but not a great place to set up as a support originally. A Zenyatta or a Ana or Baptiste holding this position when the map starts can be really easily countered by a rotation through Hotel. Rotation through Hotel, what's going to happen is the tanks that play on this corner, if the supports are that far back, will most likely be pushing around this way, and they're going to fight back in Hotel, like on this corner right here. But if they keep getting pushed, they're going to fall back in this direction towards corner number 1 or corner number 3. The supports in arches cannot make that rotation. They cannot go from this area all the way to corner number 1 or corner number 3, right, as they're pushing through Hotel in this direction. So what most likely is going to happen is if support plays right here in this position, the tanks are going to push out of Hotel. The defenders, they're going to start moving this way, and the support players, they're not going to be able to cross with them, and they're going to get stuck. The attacking team will split the defenders and pretty much will just roll the rest of the fight, right? If I was a D.Va or something playing off tank, I would immediately go chase and try to fight in this direction. You don't have to win, you just have to take them out of the fight for as long as possible, and then the 5v5 or whatever it is going to be advantageous to the team with supports. I mean, crazy thought, but true. Now, this is really easily countered by a support playing here and here. That's it. That's it. So if support's smart enough not to start in arches and they play on this corner or something like that, this rotation almost instantly fails. Right, the main trap is no longer working. Now, why would you go from this angle? Well, this angle is primarily to fight for corner number 3, this high ground. So what happens is you'll take this area up here, you come up here, you'll probably wait to regroup in this position here, and then you hit the speed boost. You need to speed boost to make this jump. I will repeat it, speed boost to make this jump. You cannot make it at normal speed. It's not possible. You need some sort of mobility to make this cross, and just speed boost alone, a Reinhardt can make this gap, no charge needed. So just a little jump and you make it to this corner. You completely take over this corner. Again, the first corner right here by statue is almost given to you but for free, and now you have 2 of the corners. This is really good if, say, something like a Sigma is holding this position. Something like a Hanzo can be really scary here, but can be pretty easily pushed off, right? So say we're fighting like this and the D.Va just goes like this and chooses to take the 1v1 with the Hanzo. She doesn't need to win, she just needs the Hanzo to leave. That's it, that's all, right? But say something more powerful like a Sigma is holding this position, D.Va is going to have a harder time pushing that Sigma off. So what's going to happen is that the whole team will make this rotation. They will commit a lot of time to taking this high ground, and they will be able to create the off angle here and maybe even a stronger off angle over here. So that is the idea of this rotation. The downside of this rotation, the big risk, is time. This rotation takes so much time, and there's only about 4 minutes for the attacking team to take first point. You generally get like 5-6 fights, but this rotation alone will cost an entire fight. So let's say hypothetically you have 5 fights on King's Row first to cap the point. This rotation will take up one of them, and once you make the jump, that's the second fight. That's the start of the second fight, right? So you are giving up one of your fights to take this high ground. Again, a lot of time burnt, and for the defending team, seeing this rotation, I'm actually really, really happy because time is super, super important in Overwatch. It's sort of like the seventh man on everyone's team. Sometimes that seventh man can throw, and sometimes it can carry. So just be careful of making this rotation. Now, we're gonna finish off talking about this with a couple of small tips for specific ideas, right? Taking ideas from the off angle, taking ideas of using these corners to really extend the advantage of your team, right? So we talked about how this choke can be really hard, right? May walls are very difficult to land here because they have to swing out wide, all that good jazz. Let's talk about what happens on point. So a lot of times we're talking about how the fight sort of starts before it actually plays out. What happens in the mid-fight? Well, what's going to happen during the engagement is this rush down right here. We might have contesting stuff on this high ground up here or maybe up here. And what's going to happen is once we get to this corner, a lot of things are going to change very fast. Baptiste lamps, by the way, put them right here, please. On defense, put them right here. Do not put them out in the open because they can be shot. Pro tip, easy tip. A lot of the fighting is going to happen right here. We're going to see a lot of Rhines do a lot of jiggle peek sort of swings. They're going to hold shield, and then they're going to fight back again, right? You might see them back off for a little bit, etc., etc. How can we help with this Rhine v Rhine? Because the Rhine v Rhine is its own sort of complex topic. What can we do as a character like Zarya, right? Can we take the off angles as Zarya? Yes. Maybe not these high grounds necessarily, because obviously this is more than 15 meters, but a common strategy I love to see in games is a Zarya who will drop a bubble onto the Rhine and then swing out into this position over here, right, near corner 3, and start pressuring from over here. And you can even make it to this little nook of the map right here and create so much pressure. Looking from that position on the defending side, right, a Reinhardt standing here, oops, let me try to get this correct, is going to have to focus on the Rhine v Rhine in this position and a Zarya laser beaming him in the side. You see how strong these off angles can be? The second he puts his attention toward the Rhine, the Zarya is going to be enabled and be a lot stronger. Where instead, if you are putting attention towards the Zarya, forcing her bubble out and making a retreat, well, all of a sudden this Rhine gets to push a little bit harder and might be able to take that corner for good. So if you're a Zarya player, try this at home. Drop a bubble on your Rhine when they start swinging. Move out this way. Do not use your bubble until they force you to. Take as much space as possible. If you can only get to here, then only get to here. But if they're not shooting at you, they're not punishing you, they're not like really making you hurt, keep going. And once they start focusing you, once you get the Discord, once you get the nade, once you get a fire strike really thrown at you, or the DPS start looking at you, that's when you want to use your bubble and then retreat back to a safer position, either here or back to your Reinhardt, right? But push your limits. Once you use bubble, then you can start backing up and playing a little bit safer, right? But this is going to be really, really great for your attacking team. This is sort of just a small tactic I thought I might just drop in really quickly. Of course, if you're a Hanzo, I suggest taking a position like this. If you're a Kree or something, you can take a position closer to this. If you're a Reaper, there are some teleporting plays up to this window right here to make drops in this direction. A lot of people do not expect the Reaper to finish their drops here. And there's also some TP potential over here. May walls, you pretty much want to put the Mei wall here out to here. It's not going to perfectly block off the Rhine or anything, but if he ever pushes up a little bit, this Mei wall can be super crucial to cutting him off from support for a couple seconds and forcing out a lot of cooldowns like Lampard Nade to be used preemptively. You know, these brawl v brawls, these are the Rhine v Rhine kind of battles, can get very complex very fast. There's a lot of things you can do on certain heroes, but this is sort of just a map guide in general. Now, last thing we're going to talk about is, what if you're not running Rush? What if you're not running a Rhine? Right? What if you're playing a poke composition? What if you're playing a dive composition? All right, we're going to make this section a little bit quicker because we went over some of the main ideas already, but poke is generally going to play on this, right, first, second, third corner a lot of the times, and the fourth corner over here. So they're going to take advantage of this position, they're going to take advantage of this position, and every so often this position as well. This position not as much because you don't really have full sight lines on everything. Sure, you can see under the point and stuff in the point itself, but you're not going to be able to say like see the Ana who's going to be positioned somewhere over here, where this little window type thing, it just becomes extremely powerful. So what you'll often see is something like we'll see, like, I don't know, maybe a diva or something. We'll play this high ground. We'll have a lot of poke on this high ground. She'll drop in a position like this. She'll fly back up. And then next, the Orisa will drop. And then once the Orisa drops, then the diva will drop again, right? So it looks like diva over here. Diva flies up. Orisa drops. Orisa golds. Diva drops again, and you have sort of this weird ping pong sort of motion that makes it very difficult for the enemy team to focus on them. This high ground, what's most likely going to happen is teams are going to hug this wall to make it as hard as possible for these high grounds to get value. Really, you need to get your value as they're making the rotation onto points, whether it's through this way or through this way, or even sometimes through hotel. You need to get your value before they get to the point. So if they're starting to get under you as an Orisa, you're going to want to pull them back out. Don't let them get onto this wall right here and keep themselves safe and sheltered. And as a character like Sigma, this is when we're going to need to be landing our shots. These are going to be when the Widowmaker is going to be the most powerful, and the Hanzo is going to be given the best chances to land their abilities. Because even when you have this window open like this, to see this area, well, it's an extremely small window. You're going to get shot at, and you're probably going to have to retreat from this area, if not die. This rotation to this window takes way too long. It has the exact same problem of just being a little bit too small. So anything with relatively decent aim, right? Something like a Junkrat, not as much, but something like a Hanzo in this position, or a Kree, or even a Mei can push people out of this window. So poke really needs to get their job done before they get to this position. They need to find some sort of advantage, and once they're able to find that, then they're going to start dropping one by one, tanks first obviously, to contest the point, keep the fight going as long as possible, and find these angles to destroy the team. Right, the whole idea of running this high ground strategy is to take off angles. If you're a rush team or a dive team wanting to deal with this, you probably need to rotate through this way and take this high ground away. You fight for this high ground first before you go to the point. You're going to have a much easier time. All right, dive. Dive generally actually likes to hold at this choke, which can be really annoying because a lot of players sort of tend to get used to being able to take this first corner for free, right? But the same disadvantages don't really apply to this corner as it did with the Reinhardt. Say the Reinhardt holding this position, it takes a really long time to walk through this tiny little narrow choke. It's really far away. He's most likely either going to die or waste so much shield and resources that he's not going to be able to win. With mobility and such, a ball slamming in can easily roll away. Monkey will have drop a bubble and able to jump away, and such and such. What's really important for a composition to fight against the dive, right? Say like a Doomfist in this position and a monkey playing right here to drop a bubble when the fight starts, and a ball ready to swing it at any time from, say, this position right here. All right, there's a lot of different variations. Maybe you can even have like a tracer up here. The best way to play against it is to make it through this area first, clear this high ground, and also this high ground. This one can be a little bit scary sometimes. No one ever plays up there. If you play up there, they're stupid. Clear this high ground here, and when you make it through this choke, play to live. Honestly, if anything, you could just play to bait the engagement, back off, just survive, and then push in again. Because dive really gets its value during the initiation, during the couple of seconds where they get to press all their buttons at once and all of their abilities really synergize. If you can survive that like 10 seconds, not even 10 seconds, like 5 seconds of engagement where they're like dropping bubble, when they are slamming in, when ball rolls through and scoops and poops, right? If you can survive that initial dive, a rush team will be stronger in the mid fight, and you're going to force them to retreat, which gives a lot of space and forces them to sort of make another engagement without all of the prep time and opportunity they had during the first engagement. If you want to play dive on the attack, well, honestly, you can play it very similar to the rush, but utilizing pretty much all 4 of these angles and diving for the high ground first. Why would you dive for the high ground first? Well, if you're diving for the high ground first, it sets you up for much cleaner dives. We're trying to dive from multiple directions, take those off angles. So maybe a monkey from over here, or a Genji from over here, different directions, maybe our Widow over here can make the engagement much, much stronger. And that's about it for King's Row first. We went over a lot of attacking ideas, defending ideas, different compositions, and generally how this map should play out. A lot of these ideas are very general, and of course the more generalized an idea, the less accurate it can be sometimes. But for the most part, a lot of these tips, especially utilizing these 4 corners idea, a lot of off-angling ideas, and positions of where to hold is going to be extremely important for your success on this map. So let me know how you guys did on this map. Are you full holding people more often, or are you just tearing through first points first try every time? Tell me how it goes in the comment section below, and thank you for watching. I hope to see you guys in another video.
About you and how you've been treating me, and I thought, why do I love you?
The house creaks as the sun hits my blind eyes. I can feel the cold outside, so tell me what you see.